Hey guys, how's it going? Remington here, and today I'm with you for a tutorial on how to make one of these. Now, you guys might not know exactly what this is, but I'm going to tell you. This is an entertainment center built off of a Raspberry Pi. So as you can see here, this is the case. The actual Raspberry Pi is inside of this. And this is going to be a tutorial on how to make one of these, how to take your Raspberry Pi, get it up and running, get it turned into something that can actually look nice, just like this. As you can see, it's got a case all around, even on the bottom, and how to do the software, how to incorporate other hardware elements, and how to make sure that your Raspberry Pi Entertainment Center works the best that it possibly can. So this is the finished product. As you can see, it looks nice, sleek. It's really beautiful. I might make some new changes later on, in which case I will update you on that. But I'm just going to go ahead and go over all the different functionalities. So right now I'm going to be controlling it using this little keyboard here. It's about $20. I also will leave the links to all of these things down in the description. It runs off of this little adapter right here, which we can plug into the USB ports on the side. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And as you can see, we now have this hooked up to this. And if we plug in the wireless adapter, it now has wireless capability. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my micro USB cable over here, and I'm going to go ahead and plug this in and show you guys some of the different things I added in to make this look amazing. So if I can go ahead and plug this in, you can see down here that it lights up this blue and red color, which it has a nice little gradient in there. And this means it's running right now, so it's turned on and it is currently running. And as you can see on the side, here's a fan that is currently running. I can stop it, as you can see right there, but that keeps it nice and cool in there, and it's almost silent. And it's currently connecting to Wi-Fi. Now I'll show you the operating system we're going to be loading onto here in a sec, but I'm going to go over all the different parts you need. So I'm going to go ahead and unplug this, and then I'll go ahead and set out everything that you might need and other things that are recommended for this build. Alright, so the things you're going to need for this are relatively simple. It shouldn't cost you much more than $60, especially if you use the same exact things I used. Now the first thing you're going to need is a Raspberry Pi. Now I will be using a Raspberry Pi Model B for this build. This one in my final build is a Raspberry Pi 2 Model B. However, the Model B will work just fine. You can use newer versions, it's just this is the other one I had on hand. And you may notice I have a heatsink on here. This is completely unnecessary, however, I like having it on there just for the state of mind, knowing that I will have a efficiently running Raspberry Pi. So I'm going to go ahead and move this up here. And the next thing we're going to need is a SD card. Now, if you're using a Raspberry Pi or Raspberry Pi Model B, you're going to need a standard SD card. This one is an 8GB SD card. I believe the operating system takes up about 1.1 gigabytes, so a 2GB SD card should do just fine, but it shouldn't hurt to go a little hefty on there just in case you need to install a couple extras. If you're using a Raspberry Pi 2 or Raspberry Pi 2 Model B, you're going to need a micro SD card. Now, my only micro SD card is actually in here right now, and I just hit my camera, whoops. But this is a micro SD card adapter. As you can see, the micro SD card actually fits in the little slot right there, but since I do not have a micro SD card out, I can't really show you. But if it's a Raspberry Pi or Raspberry Pi Model B, standard SD card. If it is a Raspberry Pi 2 or Raspberry Pi 2 Model B, use this SD card, or the micro SD card. You're also going to need a flash drive. Now the flash drive is not required, however in later builds we're going to be plugging the flash drive into the Raspberry Pi and uploading different softwares to it. You could always do this over the internet via repositories, however I found it a lot more secure using a flash drive. You're also going to need some sort of input device. So I'm using this little keyboard right here. This is the most effective and cost efficient object I have right here. This is a little keyboard. Once again, links to all these things are going to be down in the description. I guess it's that way for you guys. This is just a little tiny wireless keyboard. It serves as a remote and a keyboard, and it is wonderful. Alternatively, you could use like a full-size keyboard like this thing, but you know, if you're hooking this up to your TV, I don't really want to have a full-size keyboard. And a mouse sitting on my lap. So the nice thing about this is it has a keyboard, arrow keys, and a touchpad that you can click on too. So it's really nice. Oh, and it also has a little flashlight, because why not? The next thing you're going to need is a micro USB cable. Now, this is a $4 cable I got off of Amazon. It's actually Amazon Basics cable. It's 6 feet long. Depends on however long cable you need. It depends on how far your media center is going to be from the nearest power outlet. So I got a 6-foot one because ours is about 4 feet away. So whatever works for you guys. And then also you're going to need this specific wireless adapter. Now, a lot of wireless adapters do work. This one is the TP-Link. Actually, I'll put it upright so you guys can actually see it. Get things nice and organized over here. That actually made things worse. This is a TP-Link 150 megabytes per second wireless adapter, and you can see the model number down here, TLWN725N. Now the reason it has to be this specific adapter is because other adapters are not compatible. Now there are other adapters that are compatible, but this is the cheapest one I could find on Amazon, and it works great, especially with this operating system. And then the final thing you're going to need, it's not necessary, however I do strongly advise it, is some sort of case. Now I obviously modded mine a little bit. I'll leave a link in the description to this exact case, but it's really nice to have a case on it because it not only makes it a bit more stylish, but it also helps keep your Raspberry Pi protected in case anything happens. So I'm going to go ahead and jump over to my computer now, where we're going to go ahead and go over how to install the operating system onto your SD card or micro SD card. Alright, so we are now on my computer, and I'm going to go ahead and plug in my SD card. Now I forgot to mention in the first video, you are going to need an SD card adapter or some way to plug your SD card into your computer. Now a lot of laptops have SD card adapters on them, but if yours doesn't have an SD card adapter on it, you can just go ahead and pull it off or buy one off of Amazon. They're like really cheap. I think I found one for 30 cents once. If I can find that again, I'll leave it down in the description. Anyway, my autoplay window came up here. Since I'm using my video camera as an adapter right now, it's coming up with this PM home thing. I'm just going to exit out of this. Yours shouldn't come up with that. But as you can see, I now have a folder or a flash drive called Nikon D7000, which is the flash drive, or not the flash drive, I'm sorry, the SD card I'm currently using. Now I just opened it up and it opened up on the wrong monitor, but as you can see I do have stuff on here and I need to get rid of this stuff. Now your SD card may not have this stuff on here, but I still advise you follow this because a lot of the time there are secret hidden files on your flash drive put there by the company that you don't know about. So what we need to do is we need to go and open up Chrome, and we're going to type in SD formatter, and then we can type in Raspberry Pi. I'll also leave a link in the description. And as you can see, we come here to Raspberry Pi Noobs setup, and we need to download the SD Association's SD Formatter 4.0. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this, and we get brought to this page. I'll go ahead and leave this link down in the description. If you don't want to Google it, you can just go to www.sdcard.org/downloads/formatter_4. Now if we scroll down a little bit, we can find download SD formatter for Windows or for Mac. I'm going to download Windows because I'm currently using Windows. If you are on a Mac system, obviously you need to download the Mac version. I apologize if you hear a weird noise in the background. My dog is currently licking herself. And it's going to bring you to this page with a bunch of legal stuff on it. Just click accept. If you really want to read through it, go ahead. And then we can see SD Formatter V4 downloading over here. Now yours isn't probably going to have this 1 at the end. That is just because I have downloaded this before, and that's just kind of what it does. So if I resize my window a little bit here, and I'm going to go ahead and minimize our flash drive, or our SD card, I'm sorry. I'm going to go ahead and open the zip folder. And of course it opens on my other monitor. And as you can see, we have setup.exe in here. I'm going to drag that onto my desktop. And I'm going to go ahead and exit out of both of these windows. And then I'm going to run a setup.exe, run. It's going to run the install. Shouldn't take too long. And welcome to, oops, did I run it? Nope. Okay, we're just gonna click next. You can change the directory if you want. I'm not going to. And we're just gonna install it. Now the nice thing about this is it doesn't have any bloatware on it, so it's not going to be like, oh hey, download this free security software for your computer too. No, it's not gonna do any of that. So as you can see, it added a desktop icon. We can now delete the setup.exe off of our desktop, and we have SD formatter. So I'm going to go ahead and run this. And it opened up on my other monitor again. And you can see I have drive L, which is 7.5 gigabytes, Nikon D7000. What we're going to do is we're going to click on, well, if this isn't the drive selected, be sure to select the right drive. I can select M2, or I can select L. L is my drive, so I'm going to click option. I'm going to change the option where it says format size adjustment to on. And then we're going to change the format type to erase. Then we're going to click OK, and then click format. And that should give you a couple warnings about not removing the drive, and then this should pop up. And now it shouldn't take too long. As you can see, it's almost already done, and voila, it is formatted. So we're gonna go ahead and click OK, and we can click exit. So now we have our SD card completely formatted. There's nothing on it. So if we go back into Windows Explorer and go to Nikon D7000, you can see nothing's on here. Now I'm going to rename this to Raspberry Pi. Oops, it looks like I ran out of characters. Raspberry Pi. Perfect. So now I have a disk named Raspberry Pi. You don't have to rename it Raspberry Pi, it's optional. I prefer it because it's nice and clean and you don't have to worry about all the other stuff. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and open up Chrome, and we're going to type in OSMC.tv. Now this brings us to OSMC's website. OSMC is the operating system that our Raspberry Pi is going to be running. So for those of you who haven't ever heard of OSMC, I'll show you a little clip of kind of what it looks like. There are two different skins, the default skin, which I like a lot more, but then you can also change it to the old skin, which a lot of you may know, Kodi, which is essentially what OSMC is. It's just a newer version. So let's go ahead and download this so we can install the operating system on our SD card. So either you can come up here and click download, or you can click download in the middle of the screen. I'm going to go ahead and click this one. And it's going to take a second to load. And you can see OSMC runs on the following devices: Raspberry Pi, Pi 1, and Pi 2. So let's go ahead and click that. And then depending on which operating system your computer uses, mine is Windows once again. So I'm going to click Windows. If you use Mac or Linux, you can use those too. So I'm going to download Windows. I apologize for my cat meowing. He is very annoying. My pets are making a lot of noise. And you can see OSMC installer will run on Windows XP or later. And you can download the extractor here. And I'm going to go ahead and keep the installer. It's only 3.2 megabytes at the moment. And then you can see once you're up and running, you can also check your help pages here. So this is helpful if you're going to be doing things that aren't in this tutorial. I'm going to go ahead and drag the installer to my desktop so I can run it. So it is on my desktop. I'm going to go ahead and double click it. I'm going to click run. And yes. And as you can see, this nice little OSMC window comes up here. Now I'm going to select English. Oop, Remy just got up. And I would like to install it on a Raspberry Pi. Now as you can see, you can install it on a Vero, Raspberry Pi, or Raspberry Pi 2. Select whichever one works for you. I'll be using the Raspberry Pi, so I will click next. Please select the version you'd like. I'd recommend the most recent version. And we'll click next. And then we want to install on an SD card. Next. And then we can either set up a wireless or wired connection. It doesn't really matter. At the moment, I'm going to use wired connection, and we'll set up wireless capabilities later. As you can see, I can select disk drive L, which has 7,699 megabytes free. We can click next, accept the end user license agreement, and next. And here we go. It is installing. Actually, it's downloading right now. I'm getting 2 megabytes per second, which seems to be dropping actually, but it shouldn't take too long. The file isn't too big, but I'll go ahead and fast forward it so you guys don't have to wait. Alright, so we just got finished downloading it, and as you can see, it says, "Are you sure you want to install OSMC on the device you selected?" And they're not responsible for lost personal data. As long as you selected the right drive, you should be fine, so go ahead and click yes. And as you can see, OSMC is now being installed to your device, and it doesn't really have a progress bar as a percentage, it's more of just loading, so we'll go ahead and wait until this finishes. Alright, and we are done. So you can see OSMC, congratulations, you're ready for showtime. So we can go ahead and click quit now and pop our SD card out. And now we're going to go over setting it up to work with your Raspberry Pi. Now it's really simple, the next steps, but I'm going to go over them anyway just to make sure you know what's going on. Alright, so here we have our Raspberry Pi, and here we have our SD card or micro SD card. Now this part is really simple. It takes like no setup at all. All you have to do is take your Raspberry Pi, flip it over, take the SD card, and plug it in. This is the same for the Raspberry Pi 2, except that you have a micro SD card instead of a standard SD card. So as you can see, it's now set up, and all we have to do is take an HDMI cable. Now this is an HDMI cable I currently have hooked up to my monitor, and plug it into the HDMI slot. If you can find this here, there we go. So it is now going to output to my monitor, and then we're going to go ahead and plug in the micro USB cable. As you can see, the lights turn on down there, which means it is currently active, and my monitor is currently receiving input. If I switch the source here, it is currently receiving input from my Raspberry Pi. Now I'm going to go ahead and do this one more time, except I'm going to go ahead and show you what my monitor is seeing. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and plug in my Raspberry Pi now. I do apologize for the poor video quality in advance. There is no way to capture a Raspberry Pi via software, and I do not have a capture card. So I'm going to go ahead and change my monitor over to the correct source, which is HDMI 1. I'm going to plug in my Raspberry Pi, and as you can see before, the lights come on and you get that little screen. And turn off my other monitor over here. You can see I have a little mouse that appears in the middle of the screen. It's going to take a little bit because it needs to load and recognize what operating system it's currently trying to run. It won't take this long to start up normally, and as you can see, OSMC, formatting device. I'm just going to make sure it's nice and focused. I can't really tell from my perspective. Looks focused. Hopefully it is. Alright, so as you can see, it's formatting the device, which means it's taking the SD card and it's making it so it's usable, and this is going to take a little bit, and it's now installing the files. So that means it is currently going through and it's like, oh hey, I need this file, I need this file. It's going to take a little bit. By the way, I should mention that I just hit 1,000 subscribers, so for all of you that are subscribed to me, thanks a ton for that. You guys have no idea how much that means to me. I'm going to have a 1,000 subscriber special up soon, and if I might just do this. If I finish this project with this Raspberry Pi, I might give it away to one of you guys because I have no use for one since I already have one. So if you guys are interested in winning yourself a free Raspberry Pi with OSMC pre-installed on it, go ahead and leave a shout out or something down in the comments. Say, hey, I want this. And then I'll take that into consideration. So once again, it is going to take a while. It has to extract a lot of files. Oh, and there we go. OSMC installed successfully, which means it works and it's all up and running and it's great. So it's going to go ahead and reboot. I didn't remember from the first time I did this. And when it launches, it is going to launch into OSMC. Now it's currently off, but it will take a second to reboot here. If it doesn't reboot, you can always just go ahead and unplug the micro USB cable and plug it back in, but it won't take too long. So as you can see, OSMC is now booting. We don't have that annoying little thing down there saying, oh hey, wait for me to install. It's just starting up right now. So we'll give it a bit. It will take a second to start up. And now would be a good time to go ahead and prepare your keyboard. I know it's hard to see if I turn my light on here. And as you can see up here, when I start job is running or set time using blah blah blah, you can just ignore that stuff. But if I go ahead and turn this on right here, we can always, now would be a good time to go ahead and, oops, I almost just dropped that, set up our micro USB. Now would be a good time to go ahead and set up our keyboard and also our little Wi-Fi adapter. So let's go ahead and do that once the Raspberry Pi starts up. So as you can see, OSMC is now running. I'm going to go ahead and adjust the size here so you guys can see the whole screen. And I'm going to go ahead and let's turn this on again. In the back of the keyboard, this little tab comes up and it reveals your little micro USB, or not micro USB, but USB connector right here. So I'm going to go ahead and plug that into the USB port on the Raspberry Pi. And let's go ahead and close this. And on the side here, there should be a little on-off switch. I'm sorry if it's out of focus right now. My camera's set to focus on the monitor and nothing else. But there should be an on-off switch. Go ahead and slide it to on. And if you give it a second to calibrate, you should now be able to press buttons. You can hear that satisfying click. And as you can see, it's now running. So OSMC has some basic options. We have videos, music, pictures, my OSMC, favorites, programs, settings, and power. Now, right now you can see in the upper right corner, currently says it's 12:02 a.m. on Thursday, January 1st, 1970. It isn't 1970, it's 2015. It is like 6 right now where I am, and it is definitely not January 1st. Oh, okay. So, I don't know why mine just glitched out like that. I guess it's supposed to bring you to the setup screen first. But it's going to go ahead and guide you through setup. So you're going to go ahead and select your English. So I'm going to select English US. Confirm. We're going to choose our time zone. So I'm going to go to America. And I'm going to use the Chicago time zone. Alternatively, you can use the mouse on the little keyboard you have. I don't like it as much. I prefer the arrow keys underneath the mouse. Oops, I just screwed this up. So let's see, Chicago, Chihuahua, isn't that in Mexico? I think so. And then we can name the device. I'm going to name mine, I'm going to turn caps lock, RPi, space, caps lock off, entertainment. You can name it whatever you like. I like RPi Entertainment because it sounds pretty cool. You can also suggest a random name. And I'm going to click accept, continue to their little agreement, and then we'll set up networking later. And then you can see you can change different settings. Here we see the OSMC skin, which is the one we saw before. We could also use Kodi, which it's a lot like, I can't remember what it's called. It's a lot like Windows Media Center. As you can see there, you can choose. OSMC is newer, it's a little cleaner. This one's a little older. It's up to you. It's all preference. They have the same exact functions. And I don't want to sign up for the newsletter. And here we go. That's it. You're now ready to enjoy OSMC. Yippee! So we can go ahead and exit out. And here we see our screen once again. I'm getting a little bit of lag. Oh, and it is now 6:04 p.m. on December 31st, 1969, since we set up the time. So I'm going to go ahead, and here I have my little Wi-Fi adapter. It's hard to see. I'm going to go ahead and plug it in to my Raspberry Pi. Now, this little adapter has a little green cable, or a little thing that lights up on it. I just accidentally bumped the power cable, so I'm going to have to restart my Raspberry Pi. Dumb mistake by me, so I'm sorry for you guys. I'll go ahead and skip forward until it starts up again. However, it is a good idea to restart your Raspberry Pi after you plug in this USB Wi-Fi adapter. Alternatively, you can use Ethernet. However, I don't have Ethernet cable in that room. I only have it for my computer, so I am using a Wi-Fi adapter instead. So this is going to be the part where we're going to be setting up the basic functions of the OSMC operating system. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and set up networking. Now I'm going to go down to my OSMC, And as you can see, it's not loaded in yet. It will take a second to load sometimes, especially after the operating system has just restarted. When it is loaded in, you should see a bunch of squares under my OSMC that say things like Raspberry Pi config, overclocking, and you can go ahead and click on those, but since mine isn't working right now, I cannot do that. So we'll go ahead and wait a second, and hopefully it comes up. Alright, so now our little window popped up here, and you can probably tell we have these nice squares here. So we're going to go ahead and jump over to network and click OK on it. And it might take a second to load because it is, oops. So we can see we have options here. We have wired, wireless tethering, or MySQL. Now wired is for Ethernet connection, so if you have Ethernet connection, you're going to want to set this up. If you are using tethering, then you're going to want to use this, and MySQL, I don't know what that is. I've heard of it before, but I don't know what it is. So we're going to go into wireless since we have a wireless adapter, and if it isn't already checked, you're going to go ahead and want to check the enable adapter box. I just unchecked mine on accident. So you're going to want to check it. It's going to take a second, and you can see I have my two networks now identified over here, BW2 and BW2 extension. Oh, and we apparently have TV proprietary channel, whatever that is. So I'm going to go ahead and click BW2 extension, connect, and it's going to ask me for the security code. The nice thing is it blocks out the password, and it's going to load. Now this might take a second. It all depends on how fast your Raspberry Pi is working. Alright, and we can see that it is now connected. Now if you really want to, you can configure the network manually, but I am going to leave it as the auto settings, and we can go ahead and escape. You don't have to click apply there, I just kind of moved my mouse over it. If you do click apply, then it might screw something up. So now if we go back into network, we can see that the wireless connection is now set up. So I'm going to go ahead and jump back, and sooner or later here the time should auto update in the upper right hand corner. Until then, I'm going to go back into my OSMC, and I'm going to go over to updates, click OK, or I guess it's enter on this keyboard, and I'm going to scan for updates now. Now it's gonna, in the lower right hand corner, you can see it's currently downloading an update. And it's going to take a little bit. This is just to make sure your computer is running at perfect the entire time. And as you can see, the time is now updated. So if I bring my phone up here, it is indeed, oops, let me get rid of these notifications. It is indeed 6:06 p.m. on October 29th, 2015. I'm not sure how well you can see my phone there because it is a bit brighter than my monitor. Let me see. Yeah, you can't really see it, but it is 6:07 now. And as you can see, that just updated. And it is still downloading. I'm just going to fast forward a bit here so you guys don't have to sit through this. Alright, so as you can see, this popped up just now, and you can see it says OSMC updater, no updates are available. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my keyboard here, click OK, and that means it's done updating, and we're going to go ahead and restart it. So we can just go to the power settings and select reboot, and then it will reboot on its own. And ta-da! Here we have our OSMC all updated, and it's running great. So right now we don't have any add-ons installed. However, this will be covered in the next video. So we can get video add-ons, we can add music add-ons, picture add-ons, different programs such as running emulators on here. So not only it's not only a media center, it's also a retro gaming console. You can do all sorts of things on Raspberry Pis, and that's what the greatest feature of this is. You can do almost anything. So that's it for this tutorial. I hope this helped you guys. I'll leave a link in the description and also a button at the bottom of the video to lead you to my next tutorial on this once it comes out. And until then, I hope you guys like this video. I hope you have fun experimenting with your own Raspberry Pi Media Center. You can look up tutorials online as well on how to install add-ons and such. But until then, see you guys later. Adios.